Just pull up a chair.
Person in a movie is a tricky matter. Sometimes people have an averse reaction from the jump. Heath Ledger as the Joker, Michael Keaton as Batman, and Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone all caused considerable consternation with either fans or people at the studio. But all turned out to be pretty popular in retrospect. This video is not about those castings. No, in this video I want to take a look at some of the worst movie castings ever. These were pretty bad when they were cast, and in retrospect, they've remained pretty bad. 1991's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves saw Kevin Costner play the legendary English outlaw Robin of Locksley. In the movie, he's followed Richard I, or King Richard the Lionheart, for the Third Crusade. He spent years in prison, and during his escape his life is saved by his companion. When Robin returns home, he's found that the Sheriff of Nottingham, played fantastically by Alan Rickman, is trying to seize the throne and has had Robin's father killed. He assembles a band of outlaws in Sherwood Forest to do what people know him for: fight injustice, steal from the rich, and give to the poor. The film was directed by Kevin Reynolds, who Costner had worked with before and would work with again. Kevin Costner, it might surprise some of you to learn, is not English. Born in California with American roots stretching to the 1700s, he's pretty far removed from it. But this was an era when Kevin Costner was the king of the box office. Just a year prior, he had done Dances with Wolves, a massive success, and 2 years prior to that, he did Field of Dreams. He had rejected the script for Robin Hood at first until he found out that Reynolds would be the one directing it. The casting was widely criticized, primarily for Costner's complete lack of an English accent, which many reasonably found jarring. He made pretty much no attempt to adopt an inflection, instead delivering his lines as he normally would. This, it turns out, was actually because of Kevin Reynolds. In a 1991 piece for Entertainment Weekly, Garth Pierce wrote, quote, "Costner was determined to sound English. Reynolds, fearful that would prove distracting to audiences, urged him to drop it. The issue was never resolved. Costner's English accent surfaces in some scenes and vanishes in others." End quote. One could blame Reynolds for that, but frankly, Costner's entire Robin Hood seems wooden, made all the more glaring when you consider that Alan Rickman steals the show in every scene. That actually ended up being contentious behind the scenes. The studio decided to cut Rickman's screen time in favor of Costner's because Rickman's performance tested far better. He ended up being people's favorite character. One of the crew members even said, quote, "Rickman's acting Costner off the screen," end quote, according to the aforementioned article, and they were right. Not that that did anything to inhibit the movie's success, of course. Despite criticism of the performance, the movie made $390 million on a budget of as high as $60 million, a surefire success and the second highest grossing film of 1991, right after T2. Rickman got plenty of praise, and the movie, overall, is still pretty fun. It's a time-honored tradition that whoever gets cast for Batman will, at first, be widely reviled. Michael Keaton, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and Robert Pattinson all suffered a similar fate. Some of them redeemed themselves, but one who surely didn't was George Clooney, who played the Caped Crusader in 1997's Batman and Robin. It's not like Clooney was the first choice, of course. Director Joel Schumacher had clashed with Val Kilmer on Batman Forever, and after their relationship deteriorated, Kilmer walked on the film. Schumacher considered William Baldwin, but chose Clooney because he, quote, "brought a real humanity and humor to the piece and accessibility that I don't think anybody else has been able to offer," end quote. Also, the studio wanted Clooney, and so that was that.
Chad, remember how Val Kilmer was quoted before passing away that he wished he had picked up a mask, picked up anything that he'd be tied to a character? Like, when you think of Johnny Depp, you can think of Jack Sparrow. Maybe you think of someone else, but maybe you could think of Jack Sparrow. When you think of the Joker, forever, you'll think of Heath Ledger. Maybe you'll think of someone else every once in a while. You know, I mean, time goes on. But Val Kilmer was kind of saying, like, man, I wish, especially nowadays, someone like Val Kilmer doesn't go on the internet. He's not on IG. At least I'm assuming. He could care less. He got family. Val Kilmer seems like he knows how to he knows how to have a good time. He looks like he was living life to his last breath. Thank God, as he should. So someone like him who probably goes on YouTube every once in a while, you know, grandkids showing him something, sees the comment section and sees how fans praise these people. I can understand how him being a little bit out of touch with knowing where the fandom is today when he sees something like that, and for him to say he wishes he would have tied himself to a character. That's interesting. Again, you could think of Top Gun. You know, he does great in Top Gun. He returned right before his death. But the point that I'm making is it's interesting to hear that he was in talks of being Batman. I didn't know that. Maybe that's one of those things why it even hits a little closer to him, where he feels like, dang, man, I could have been at least Batman. Like some people look at George Clooney, they think Batman. Some people think Michael Keaton. What they think Michael Keaton? Maybe you think, uh, uh, June. What's that called? What's that called? What's that called? What what you want me to say? Hey, listen. Sometimes I'll just go on Facebook to look at something, see any messages, any requests, and something starts playing. You know it's gonna be some ratchet behavior. That's all people post. Hence why I don't go on it all the time. What's that called? That monster he plays, bro. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The black and white referee stripes in the tux. Beetlejuice. Yeah, some people think of Beetlejuice. Anyways, it's interesting to know he actually was talking about Batman, just couldn't agree. Maybe that's something he regrets also. Like, man, I could have been Batman to some people.
Clooney's performance ended up being widely criticized. He played a charming enough Bruce Wayne, which is to be expected, but his Batman lacked the darkness and intensity that should come with a character. It was probably the second most campy Batman movie ever made, right after 1966's Batman the Movie starring Adam West. But what that had in camp, it made up for in charm. This one didn't. Clooney played the role as a suave leading man as opposed to a vigilante, failing to capture the complexity or presence of Batman. The movie itself is awe-inspiring for its sets and the cityscape, but certainly not for its performances. The infamous bat nipples on the suit became symbolic of the film's tone, clashing with what fans wanted or probably expected. None of this is news to Clooney, who apologized for the movie, literally. In 2005, he said that he thought that they had killed the franchise, and they had to an extent. In the 8 years between 1989 and 1997, there were 4 Batman movies. There were no Batman movies for 8 years until 2005's Batman Begins after Batman and Robin. In 2015, Clooney said he apologized to Adam West, and in 2020 he told Howard Stern, quote, "The truth of the matter is, I was bad in it. Akiva Goldsman, who's won the Oscar for writing since then, he wrote that screenplay, and it's a terrible screenplay, he'll tell you. I'm terrible in it, I'll tell you. Joel Schumacher, who just passed away, directed it, and he'd say, yeah, it didn't work. We all whiffed on that one," end quote. The movie was also a box office disappointment relative to expectations. It made $238 million on a budget of as high as $160 million. It cost more and made less than the Batman movies before it. Critics savaged it, calling it one of the worst superhero movies ever made. I'm sure there's some nostalgia for it, and I have some of it myself, but the best thing about it might be it's paving the way for the Nolan trilogy.
Right.
In 2012 and 2016, Tom Cruise played Jack Reacher, the protagonist of Lee Child's Jack Reacher series. In the novels, Reacher is a former army man who becomes something of a drifter, roaming the United States, invariably finding himself involved in dangerous situations.
Right.
In both films, he finds himself involved in conspiracies and must resolve what's going on. To understand why Tom Cruise was miscast as Reacher, we need to understand how Reacher is portrayed in the books. This is how he's described in Never Go Back. Quote, "Puberty had brought him many things unbidden, including height and weight, and an extreme mesomorph physique with a six-pack like a cobbled city street, and a chest like a suit of NFL armor, and biceps like basketballs, and subcutaneous fat like Kleenex tissue," end quote. All of that is to say that the 5'7" Tom Cruise would be utterly crushed by the 6'5", 250-pound Jack Reacher. The casting of Tom Cruise as Jack Reacher was immediately controversial for fans of the series because this was a diametrically opposite casting. It's like casting George Clooney as Batman, in fact. Fans were outraged that one of Reacher's most defining characteristics, his intimidating physical structure, was completely ignored. Cruise has the action hero charisma, sure, but it wasn't enough to cover the fundamental differences between how he looked and how the character he was supposed to play operated. In Never Go Back, one paragraph describes, quote, 250 pounds about to collide head-on with 400 pounds, end quote. Tom Cruise would not survive a clash with 400 pounds. The LA Times compiled some of the early reactions to the casting, which were unanimously negative. None of that is to say that Cruise is a bad actor, which he's not, just that he was utterly miscast in this role. The first movie made $218 million on $60 million, a solid return, and got decent enough reviews. 2016's Never Go Back, however, made $162 million on a budget of as high as $96 million, a steep contraction. Lee Child, in 2018, also regretted the casting, saying, quote, "I really enjoyed working with Cruise. He's a really, really nice guy. We had a lot of fun. But ultimately, the readers are right. The size of Reacher is really important, and
It
it's
is.
a big component of who he is. So
Right.
what I've decided to do is, there won't be any more movies with Tom Cruise. Instead, we're going to take it to Netflix or something like that. Long-form streaming television with a completely new actor, unquote. That was the right move. In 1998, hot off of Good Will Hunting, Gus Van Sant decided to make one of the most unoriginal movies of all time, a nearly shot-for-shot remake of Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 classic, Psycho. Both films share a source, Robert Bloch's 1959 novel, so there was some room for interpretation, but not for Van Sant, who justified it by calling it an experiment and saying that, quote, backlash was thought of as good, end quote. Part of the backlash stemmed from the fact that Vince Vaughn took on the iconic role of Norman Bates, attempting to fill the massive shoes of Anthony Perkins in one of cinema's most celebrated performances. Bates runs the isolated Bates Motel where he encounters Miriam Crane and reveals his fractured mind. Part of what made Perkins so perfect for the role was his unassuming nature. He was tall and lanky, a guy who seems like he could be pushed around by his mother, but someone you could also see totally losing it. Perkins is the type of guy that can make himself both visible
Chat.
and invisible, with
Bro's
a unique
projecting.
look that can get lost
Someone
in
who
the background,
seems like he
but
could be
in the
pushed
moment
around by
can also
Muhammad
stick with
Dukes.
you forever. Vaughn,
What?
while like as a comedic actor, was physically and temperamentally
skinny?
wrong for the part. He was too big, too modern, and unable to capture Perkins' odd blend of boyish innocence and menace. His performance was wooden, and his attempts at Bates' nervous mannerisms felt forced. It was a fundamental mismatch between an actor and their role. Of the role, Roger Ebert wrote, quote, one problem is the casting of Vaughn in the Norman Bates role. He isn't odd enough. Norman's early dialogue often ends in a nervous laugh. Anthony Perkins, in the original, made it seem compulsive, welling up out of some secret pool of madness. Vaughn's laugh doesn't seem involuntary. It sounds as if he intends to laugh. Possibly no other actor could have matched the Perkins performance, which is one of the unique creations in the cinema, but Vaughn is not the actor to try, end quote. Part of this is Van Sant's fault, of course. He doesn't give Vaughn much to work with. Actually, he doesn't give him anything to work with. He basically says, do whatever Anthony Perkins did. Would Vaughn have been any better if he was able to put his own spin on it? Perhaps not, but at the very least, he wouldn't have come up as short as he did. The movie was a critical and commercial disaster. It made $37 million on $25 million and got terrible reviews. Ebert put it succinctly, quote, if there was ever a film crying out not to be made, this is that film. No need to have this remake, end quote. The movie was a misfire on pretty much every level. Telling the story of Alexander the Great in film is a tall task for anyone. Of course, that doesn't mean that people haven't tried. One of the most famous attempts was the critical and commercial disaster that ended up being 2004's Alexander. Running nearly 3 hours in the theatrical cut and varying lengths
3
over subsequent
hours.
versions, Alexander, directed by Oliver Stone,
Why?
cast Colin Farrell as Alexander the Great, Angelina Jolie as Queen Olympias, and Val Kilmer as Philip II. It followed Alexander's rise to power, his complex relationship with the people around him, especially his mother, his military prowess, and more. It was a tall order for an epic life. To be sure, Colin Farrell is a great actor, but he was totally unsuited for the role. Farrell was unable to convey the gravitas and commanding presence that one would expect from one of history's greatest military leaders. His performance was criticized as being too contemporary and lacking the intellectual depth to portray Alexander's philosophical side. It was also pretty much devoid of all charisma. Colin Farrell did not play an Alexander that would inspire an army to follow him into hell. In his review of the film, Roger Ebert made an interesting point, that great leaders have a streak of madness to them. They are not normal by any means. Normal people would not survive, much less thrive, in a position that somebody like Alexander found himself in. Things like the odd accent are much less important than the presence, which Farrell just did not have for this role. Ebert put it as such, quote, Farrell is a fine actor, but on a human scale, he's not cut out for Philosopher King. One needs to sense a certain madness in a colossus. George C. Scott brought it to Patton. Peter O'Toole brought it to Lawrence. Klaus Kinski to Fitzcarraldo. Mel Gibson had it as William Wallace. Willem Dafoe had it in Stone's Platoon. But Farrell seems too reasonable, too much of an ordinary scale, to drive men to the ends of the world with his unbending will, end quote. Angelina Jolie also got some criticism for her role as Olympias, but much like Dan Carlin said in Mania for Subjugation, Episode 1, she's a better casting than Farrell as Alexander. The movie was a total bomb, making $167 million on a $155 million budget and getting terrible reviews from audiences and critics. Oliver Stone put the blame on the religious right, but I think Colin Farrell got it right when he said that the movie is just draining to watch. Not to mention, it doesn't help that Stone didn't know what kind of movie that he even wanted to make. He issued 4 cuts over 10 years. If the director of the movie doesn't know what they want, they can't expect the audience to enjoy what they're seeing. The movie does get some praise for its battle scenes as well as its ambition, but it remains the case that the story of Alexander the Great remains to be done justice.
Yeah.
My favorite on-screen Lex Luthor has been, and so far remains, Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville. Part of it is just seeing him build up over several years, but another part is that you get to see his decline to being a villain instead of just having it thrown at you like what happens in the movies. But even among movie versions, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, was particularly bad. In it, Eisenberg plays a young, twitchy tech billionaire as opposed to the powerful, commanding industrialist. In the movie, he manipulates a conflict between Superman and Batman while secretly creating Doomsday driven by his pathological hatred of Superman. Snyder reimagined the character as a neurotic Silicon Valley type genius, a departure from previous portrayals. Of course, the Smallville version wasn't traditional either, so cutting some slack regarding origins isn't a problem for me. But the issue arises when Eisenberg's Luthor ends up chewing the scenery and overacting as opposed to being menacing. He tries, to be sure, but he comes off as weird more than anything else. He's a guy who, if he approached you at a bar, you would probably instinctively cover your drink. It was a manic, eccentric interpretation that was widely panned. He was quirky and theatrical, seemingly trying to channel Heath Ledger's Joker and failing. Of it, Sonny Bunch, writing for the Washington Post, wrote, quote, "As the film progresses, Lex degenerates into a gibbering madman, some strange mix of the Riddler and the Joker with a little bit of Mark Zuckerberg added for flair," end quote. And Todd McCarthy, writing for the Hollywood Reporter, wrote, quote, "The villain here, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, is so intensely annoying that, very early on, you wish Batman and Superman would just patch up their differences and join forces to put the squirrely rascal out of his and our misery," end quote. That's not to say that an over-the-top performance couldn't work. It certainly did with Nicholas Hoult in 2025 Superman. But Eisenberg's performance was also tonally at odds with Batman v Superman in general. Infused as the movie is with Zack Snyder's grittier aesthetic, a more serious take would have worked much better. Instead, Eisenberg ended up being more timely than timeless. Batman v Superman was a commercial disappointment, making $874 million on a budget of as high as $325 million and getting wrecked by critics. The movie had issues beyond Eisenberg, but his portrayal of Luthor was emblematic of the broader creative missteps that era of the DCEU would suffer. 2014's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a wild movie. I'd never been into Ninja Turtles as much as some of my friends, but I liked it well enough. Still, I was surprised that they would be doing a live-action version of what I always thought worked better as either comics or cartoons. But then I found out that the 1990 live-action movie made more than $200 million on a $13.5 million budget, and it suddenly made much more sense.
Wow.
What didn't make much sense at the time or in retrospect was casting Megan Fox as April O'Neil. This isn't necessarily a dig at Fox, who I like as an actress more than most. I think she was great in the Transformers movies, in Jennifer's Body, and Till Death. And it's not her fault that the movie ended up getting shellacked by critics and audiences, but there were a few things working against her. First was that she had fallen out with Michael Bay, who served as producer. She got booted from Transformers after comparing Michael Bay to Hitler, something that did not sit well with Steven Spielberg. But okay, that's something that can be patched up. Fine. Second, one of the creators of TMNT, Peter Laird, didn't know why she was cast. But instead of waffling on the casting like Lee Child did when Tom Cruise was announced, Laird was a bit more forward, saying, quote, "My only exposure to Megan Fox as an actress is through her role in two Transformers movies and the wretched but happily forgettable Jennifer's Body. It may not be fair to judge her range of acting skills just from those three movies, but I think it is safe to say that there are probably hundreds of better choices for the role of April O'Neil. Of course, her name has promotional value, and maybe that's what they want. Who knows? I can't get myself too worked up about it," end quote. He seemingly didn't have much, if any, input into the movie, so of course no one had to take what he had to say into consideration, even though it's generally a good idea to listen to the creator of a thing. And third, it's because Fox didn't really fit the O'Neil character. Laird had hit the reasoning on the head. Her name had promotional value, even if it had been more than half a decade at that point since she'd been in a successful film. And, of course, Megan Fox is very attractive. Fox was able to handle some parts of the role well. She can sell the action, the physicality, and the danger in the role. But instead of being a sharp, tenacious journalist who encounters the Turtles, she's more of a chosen one sort of character, seemingly destined to know them because of her father's role in their creation and her actions of saving them when they were younger. The reporter aspect was minimized in the service of Megan Fox just being Megan Fox in another big budget action flick. Instead of being a grounded, stubborn, journalist-first type character, she was a blockbuster lead dropped into a blockbuster role irrespective of anything else. Still, despite negative reviews, the movie cleared $485 million on a budget of as high as $185 million, more than enough reason for them to make a second one.
Right.
Alas, the sequel made much less, which put the Turtles on ice until 2023's Mutant Mayhem, a much better film. There was going to be an adaptation of The Last Ronin, but Paramount Skydance put that on hold, opting to do a live-action reboot instead. 2024's Madame Web came near the tail end of Sony's experiment with making movies about characters in the Spider-Man universe. While the Venom series ended up being successful enough, the other films, Morbius, Madame Web, and Kraven the Hunter, did not have much luck. In addition to being critically thrashed, they likely did not turn a profit in theaters either. Madame Web saw Dakota Johnson play Cassandra Webb, a paramedic who discovers that she has clairvoyant abilities and needs to protect 3 young women who are being hunted by someone who has similar powers and is trying to avert their own demise. Through the film, she uncovers secrets about her own past. Now, I think that Dakota Johnson gets a bad rep as an actress. In some roles, she absolutely kills it.
Yeah.
Materialists, Cha-Cha Real Smooth, Splitsville, The Peanut Butter Falcon, and Suspiria are all great movies that utilize her talents well. One gets the distinct feeling that she was pitched on being in a Spider-Man movie, that Spider-Man movies make money, and that, hey, might as well do it. Johnson apparently utterly disengaged throughout the film, delivering lines with a flat affect that suggested that she would rather be anywhere else but there. In fact, it seems as though the rest of the cast would also have rather been anywhere else but there. It doesn't help that Johnson herself disparaged the movie, acknowledging the terrible reviews and suggesting that she wasn't particularly happy with it. There's actually some truth to the notion that Johnson thought that she signed up for one kind of film and ended up in quite another. In her words, quote, "I think unfortunately with Madame Web it started out as something and turned into something else, and I was just sort of along for the ride at that point. But that happens. Bigger budget movies fail all the time," end quote. She's not wrong about that. Movies do often change from how they're written to how they're filmed for whatever reason. And Madame Web apparently underwent severe changes, being shortened by as much as 30 pages before it even started filming. Whether the change is what brought about the affectless performance, or whether it would have been the same if the movie had kept its original vision, is of course unknowable. Still, as the audience, we can only judge what we see, and neither critics nor audiences liked what they saw or what they heard about the movie. It made around $100 million on a budget of as high as $80 million, a total box office disaster, and got dismal reviews. After Kraven the Hunter came out later that year, that was a wrap for Sony's Spider-Man universe. Most of these actors and actresses are pretty good, and I like a lot of their work, but sometimes an actor just does not fit the role that they've been cast in. It's rarely their fault alone. Sometimes they get terrible direction, other times the role just isn't written to suit them, or their interpretation of a role might be off. Whatever the case though, a bad casting is still a bad casting.
Show me the money! Show me the money!
What if I told you Tom Cruise made $100 million from just one movie, and that wasn't even his biggest payday? From record-breaking stunts to box office bombs, Cruise has done it all, and cashed in every step of the way. With Top Gun Maverick soaring past $1 billion and The Mummy failing to launch a franchise, his paychecks have been as unpredictable as his stunts. But did you know he once held his breath for 6 minutes just to get the perfect shot?
Get to the
Stick
get to
around
the
as we
payday.
break down Tom Cruise's most insane paydays
Chad,
and his biggest Hollywood
after
risks.
seeing that he was on Jack Reacher and the way the man spoke about, I made a mistake, I'm not going back with Tom Cruise, I'm just curious. Tom Cruise didn't probably take that offensive. He got 2 movies out of it, got a payday. So I'm thinking, how much did he make for Jack Reacher? $50K for Taps, his first film. At least the one that they're gonna mention. $60K. Hey, he was moving up in the ranks. I've seen some of your biggest stars go from $50K to $20K to $3K, $10K. It's rough out here. The Outsiders, $50K. Hey, his agent had him in some good graces. Those are not bad numbers. $50K when you're just nobody. Bro, we can't even see that. Hundo. Top Gun. 2 M's. Biggest payday so far. One M dropped back down after a big movie. It happens. 2.5. I need that 0.5. Four M's. Doubled. He was the main character in Rayman. Well, yeah. 3 M's. That's not Tropic Thunder, chat. 9 M's. 9 M's for what? On a $60 million budget, Days of Thunder, 9 M's. 13 M's. Oh, after Top Gun, it was over. 12.5 M's. A few good men. And what did the rest of the cast get? $12 M's. Man, he's staying in that range. 15 M's. I've never even heard of Interview with the Vampire. Mission Impossible. 70 M's. That doesn't even make sense. I need to read that again. 70 M's on an $80 million budget movie? Chat. This is pause worthy. Have you ever heard of this? The budget had 80 M's. 70 of it went to the actor. That means the rest of the money, including the paydays for all the other names and the other faces you like, from Vince all the way to our guy from Shaun of the Dead. Chat. Hundreds of thousands of dollars on a movie. Excuse me. No wonder they came back with 2, 3, 4. The movie made 450 M's. I mean, at that point, you're sitting back like, thank you, God. I made it. I made it, God. I made it. House for my family. House for myself. Car for my loved ones. Car for myself. Money in the bank. This is when you start seeing them pop out with nice glasses. Like nice glasses. Like everywhere they go. And they just look happier. They're doing interviews they normally they would avoid. They're walking up to TMZ. How's it going, TMZ? I'm just going out for a walk. They're doing something they 100% could have did in a different way. They're getting coffee. You know what I mean? They're coming out of their hotel or their penthouse. They're in a good mood. You work as hard as you work to get 70 M's. You're in a good mood too. It's hard to wake up and have a bad day. It's possible, and it still happens. It's life. Tragedy is always around the corner, so things happen. But 70 M's, chat. 70 M's and $10 million to make the movie. And it recouped 450. You out of your mind? We're doing a part 2 and a 3. Where do you go from? Where do you go after 70 M's? 37 M's? Okay, so he stayed up there. So that was it. From there, Tom Cruise was him. Top Gun did numbers, and he's getting 30 M's, 70 M's, 20 M's. That's interesting, because I would have thought he's at 20 M's now. I would have thought he probably made... That doesn't even make sense. Now you're not even making sense. Oh, brother, I thought you said 100 mil. You're saying 100K was his payday on a 37 million budget. See, chat? It's not always about the money. A lot of people will tell you that, and you think they're lying. They're not lying all the time. Sometimes you take a win. A lot of y'all would have dropped the ball and not took Magnolia, but you never know. If we looked into it, maybe the director in Magnolia ended up calling him for another $20 million payday. All because he worked with him on a movie where he took 100K and he thought he took good direction. He showed up on time. He brought good energy and he executed. Even if the movie didn't make, what? It made 48 M's back. It lost. It really didn't win nothing. 37 million to make it and 48. And he only took 100K. He could have left that place and felt like, man, I'll never work with that guy, or blame. Nah, sometimes you go from 20. I mean, it's a lot easier when you're going from 30 M's, 20 M's to go to 100K. But chat, sometimes you go from 400K and you gotta take a 100K check, and you just take it because you thought the script was good, because you believe in the movie, because the director asked for a solid. Like, listen, bro, do me this favor. You're the guy for this movie. I know you're not all the way believing in it. Do this movie for me. Don't do it for me alone. If you're only doing it for me, then walk. But believe in this movie with me. And I'm telling you, I'm coming back for you. I got something in the future for you. I'll come. Anything I'm working on, I'll let you know. You tell me when you say, I want that one. Like, you just never know. The connections you're building, the friendships. Chat. Again, the only reason I say this is because some of y'all would have looked at that paycheck, 100K, and you would have said, is he trolling me? I just came off a 27 million budget. I just got 70 M's and Mission Impossible is doing numbers. I just did 37 M's. I don't want it. But you never know. I can't tell you that this movie is good because I've never seen Magnolia. But it's deeper than, was it a good movie? Is it a cult classic? And sometimes it can be that simple. Sometimes you take 100K and you humble yourself and you look at it like, bro, I'm still getting paid way more than what I come from, way more than my peers. Well, not my peers. Yeah, some of them, but people that work everyday jobs. I'm getting 100K for 6 months. Some people don't make 100K in a year. So you realize, all right, I'll do it. And then you do the movie, even though you didn't all the way want that payday, and the movie becomes a cult classic. Like, imagine it. And then now you got a core following. You were already bubbling. You were already doing numbers. But now you got people who own that DVD or own that movie or bought it. And they watch it. And that's their favorite movie. And slowly, but little by little, you can become their favorite actor. So you never know. You can't look at a payday and assume this ain't enough. I'm not doing the movie. It got to be bigger than that. And if there's one thing that when we watch these, we react to a lot of these. When we watch these, if there's one thing that this has taught us, from the Robert De Niro's and to the Tom Cruises, that it's not always about a payday, chat. And you can make a big mistake in your career by saying, bro, I came off 20 M's. I'm not taking 100K. Mission Impossible again. After Magnolia was so bad, he said, give me another Mission Impossible. 75 M's. In the first movie, he took 70. He took 75 this time, but they had more money to play with, 12 M's. I mean, 125 M's. 20 M's. 40 M's. At this point, he's up, Chad. I mean, now this is just the love of the game. And lifestyle, you gotta keep working. I mean, you need purpose. 45 M's. That was a blessing, because that movie made 456 M's, The Last Samurai. I'm surprised they didn't try to make a part 2. 20 M's for Collateral. That was a good film. Wonder how much Jamie Foxx got on that. 100K again? Hold up. That's interesting. Let's check it out. War of Worlds. I still haven't watched that movie fully. That man got Wait, what? Y'all gave him 100 M's for War World? Hey, listen, I'm not ever gonna be a guy who, belittles what you gave a man when it's a good thing. I might comment when you burn him, like, yo, bro, why you only give that man 400? But if you overly pay, I'm not gonna knock it, cause I couldn't imagine how I would feel if someone sat there, watch me get good food, a good deal, and then say something hating like, you're only going to charge him that? Like, bro, why are you involved with something that it could be taken as God's blessing me? Why are you involved with it? Chat, they gave that man 100 M's. I don't know what to tell you. Have you seen War of Worlds? The movie made 600 M's back. I mean, that's just God blessing him in that area. Like they took care of that. Because otherwise, they'd have looked at him like, we're never working with him again. If that movie would have made anything under 100 M's, it would have been like they just gave free money to Tom Cruise. 100 M payday, chat. His biggest so far. War of Worlds was Tom Cruise's biggest so far. 100 M's. Yeah, no, I gotta Google who Tom Cruise agent is. Cause I need these type of negotiations. The movie made 600 M's though, no complaints. 100 M's for 8 months. Let's just call it a year. Let's say it was 12. Let's say it was a whole year. 75 M's. Oh, Mission Impossible, of course. 11 M's. That man went from 100 M's, 75 M's. I mean, if this doesn't get you to go just try to see if you can get yourself in a movie. He got 5 M's for Tropic Thunder, and he was in a room the whole time making phone calls. I think he left at the end of the movie to go somewhere. 20 M's, Valkyrie, Night and Day. Man, I don't remember who wrote Night and Day, and I don't know what it is about that movie, but I can watch that movie anytime, over and over. I enjoy that film. 262 M's, $20 million paycheck, 75 M's for what? 75 M's for what? Oh, Mission Impossible Ghost. Let's see. I'm curious. How much did they make? So they hit him with another 75 M's. They're kind of sticking to the script with him. Hey, listen, Mission Impossible again, 75 M paycheck. So he got 100 M's from War Worlds. For the first Mission Impossible, he got 70 M's out of 80 M's for the whole budget. Then for the second Mission Impossible, he got another 70 M's, another 75 now for Ghost Protocol. And they know Mission Impossible is a win-win at this point. They're just knocking him out. The thing I like about Tom Cruise though, I can't really say he's like some rappers I could say that never fail me on a feature. Like there's some rappers that when they give a feature, it's a hit or a miss. I think Drizzy's up there for that. I don't think I ever heard Drizzy on a feature and I'm like, oh yeah, I could tell that was a throwaway. It's always a feature. And I think he commented early on in his career where he said, I go in there like something that looked at it like a feature, and I took something from that. I took that, I like that, and I want to be that. I want to be like that. Cause I know after the Wayne like feature run, everybody looked at a feature like, oh man, it's a blessing to be everywhere. Like the best of the best get features, but a lot of people weren't taking it as serious as Wayne. And I would even go as far, and this might be blasphemy, cause Wayne is him. But I would say the mentality Drizzy was going in on a feature was body it. I think Wayne was so up and so talented that I don't even think he was going in there to say, I'm bodying this artist. I think it was just, I'm a body to beat. I'm a body to track. But I could be wrong. But I took from that because I felt like, all right, the reason why, because, sometimes you hear something and you say, why is that important to him? Even if you get the gist of it, like, yeah, I get it's important. Who wants to get executed? Who doesn't want to come and say, this is my song now? Sometimes we got that ego in hip-hop, that pride. Like, fans are going to talk. We know a fight is a fight at the end of the day. You're going to go in there, you're going to try to look good, or you're going to try to win. At the end of the day, they're going to talk about who won. So I looked at it and I said to myself, okay, so not only should I always give it my all, treat it just like it's my song, which I would want to. Anybody who really loves this thing is going to treat it like it's theirs. Again, I think Wayne goes in there to treat it like it's his when he was on that Wayne run, feature after feature. But you could just tell the artists who look at it like, no, it's bigger than just competition. I mean, it's bigger than just, I'm good. No, I'm right. It's bigger than just competition. It's bigger than me saying, oh, I out-rapped you on your song. It's more of me saying, I might be introduced to new fans that have never pressed play on my song. At least, again, this is how I took it. So, this is my introduction. And then it kind of goes, it coexists with that. When Ye was like, I make every song like it's my last song. That's interesting. Quincy Jones spoke on something like that. And that's a hard mentality. That's a hard mindset to adapt and just create every time. Like, okay, this could be my last. This is everything I got. Because, bro, only true artists know this. And I'm not trying to take bragging rights from anybody. But what I'm about to say is you got to be in the lab creating to understand what I'm about to say. There's so many times where I'm writing and I'm putting something together and maybe it's a beat, especially, and this is why I say true artists, especially when I'm creating a project, something that I'm like, okay, This is the intro. I already know what the outro is. We're working on a bonus. This song can be like track 3 or 4. Like, only true creatives know what that does, why that matters. Not just the people who just do this because they're nice and they go in there and just give you singles until one hits. I'm talking about the true sit-down creatives putting pieces together, twisting and turning, making it make sense. And yeah, it's hard as an artist when you're creating and you're trying to, again, Ye's quote, treat every song like it's your last, like you'll never make another song again. So basically, go all out. As much as you want to go all out, let me give you an example. I'm like, oh man, I got this one bar that I wrote one day. I've been really waiting to use it. I think I'm gonna put it in this song. That's all good and well, but then what happens when I say, oh wait, the song I've been working on from the other day that I got a hook for, it fits perfectly with this bar. It makes all the sense. All right, maybe I should keep this bar, because even the hook that I made, I got a song title, and the whole thing all lines up. Track title, hook, and this bar that I've been saving is going to be perfect if I put that on another song. And I don't really like how the bar is coming out on this beat anyways, so it'll work better on this beat. You see what I just did there though? Because I'm being an artist and I'm creating, I just didn't make this song like it's my last. I'm already thinking for the next song. I'm already saving and putting away. And I think that's something I think I struggle with. I do way too much putting away. Like, my best song, in my opinion, you haven't even heard it yet. I mean, of course you haven't heard it, but it hasn't even seen the light of day, like been on YouTube, seen the algorithm. I got heat. I really believe that. Like, I got gold that I'm piecing up, putting together. Some of them are written, and I know the exact flow. As soon as I read it, I know exactly how it's supposed to be said, but I haven't recorded it. So it's crazy how I really do try to say, all right, give this song everything. And I think I do, but it's so hard to just say, all right, what if this is the last song you ever make? Take that bar, it doesn't matter, use it today. Take that hook, you've been saving that hook, you think that hook is a #1 hit, take that hook and use it for this song. It's hard to do that. What are we talking about? Let's stay focused. I don't know how we got to music. I stopped paying attention. What was the last one? 75 M's for Protocol. 5 M's, 8 M's, 19 M's, Oblivion. What's that movie called again? Edge of Tomorrow, 25 M's. That movie, I won't even comment on that movie. Because it had such a good idea. I just don't think it was executed right. 65 M's, Mission Impossible, okay. So now we're dropping, hold up. That's interesting. Because again, some of y'all would have walked away. Some of y'all would have not came back out with Rogue Nation because your pride would have said, and it's easy to be prideful when you're going through a middleman. It's easy to tell your agent, what? This is the 4th Mission Impossible. We've done 75 M's or 70 M's. I'm not dropping down to 65 M's. I've made the money every time. It's not about, some of y'all get in your ego bag. It's not about the 5 M's. It's not about the millions. It's about the principle. Why are we lowering when it's a guaranteed hit every time we done it? Some of y'all can get ego, but Tom Cruise doesn't strike me as someone with too much ego. And this is a fine example how you just, all right, 65 M's. We're in the ballpark of where we've been at. I'll take it. I mean, it's real hard to complain about M's because me and you we're dead pop. We're broke. But I mean, when you get to this level, it's a whole lot easier to say, give me the movie or don't. Now we got to Jack Reacher. That's what we've been waiting for. 22 M's for Never Go Back. I didn't even see Jack Reacher Part 1. It must have been the one where I said I'm not paying attention. No. I didn't even see Jack Reacher. Oh, right there. Alright, let me pay attention. 8 M's. They gave him 8 M's for the first Jack Reacher. That was disrespectful. That's the better Jack Reacher, right? Is that the one with the 8 M's? See, that was the one I didn't pay attention to. Oh, Oblivion. Oh, that was exactly what I said I didn't see. 8 M's for Jack Reacher. I mean, at least they came correct on the second time. 65 M's, we talked about that. Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. Another 162 million they made. 22 M's. 8 M's to 22. They finally understood that this was a W. The Mummy, 13 M's. American Made, I thought that was a good movie. 135. 10 M's. At this point, he's taking big pay cuts. 80 M's. See, Mission Impossible got it together. He was willing to take the 65 M's negotiation. Sometimes you can negotiate like that. Okay, I'll take your 65 this time. But if we meet the numbers that you're expecting, we go back up. 75 M's for most of his Mission Impossible movies. He got 85 last one. This last one, he got 70. 100 million. 100 million on Top Gun Part 2. You know they had to...
Tom Cruise's career...
Yo, bro. We're good. Thank you. You know they had to come correct with the Top Gun for Part 2 to bring it back. 100 M's. He has 2 100 M paydays. One of them is... What was that movie called? That I didn't even see. What's that movie called? Not Edge of Tomorrow, not Tomorrowland. What is it? Doesn't matter. It's not Oblivion. So he has 100 M's, 2 paydays, 200 M's paydays. Top Gun Part 2 is one of them. And the other one I haven't even seen. Mission Impossible, the last one. No, it's not the last. Oh, there we go. That's the last one. And he has 3 100 M paydays, 100 million 3 times, chat. I mean, that's when we're talking about generational wealth. The movie unreleased? The Final Reckoning? Which one does he jump? Oh, Dead Reckoning Part 1. Unreleased. Are you sure about that, Brody? I mean, you're the movie guy, you know. Feel like I seen him at that age working in a movie on the subway or something in the Mission Impossible. But maybe it's that one where he jumps. They made a big thing about the jump, and low key the jump wasn't real. He did jump, but it wasn't. Anyways, that's a separate conversation. The man does his stunts, that's for sure. So he's getting another 100 million paycheck. That's 100 million paychecks. And his last one was 70 M's, Mission Impossible. And the one before that, 100 M's, Maverick. What was that movie that we said he had 100 M's? Anyways, the point is, chat, sometimes your rate is here. And sometimes your rate is here. It is what it is. Alright, chat. Be right back. Get out.